Homeless human accused of witchcraft heals billionaire alien's daughter. What happened next? Therion's neon skyline pierced the perpetual twilight like 1,000 electric daggers. The megacity sprawled across the planet's surface, a testament to alien ingenuity and excess. Amid the gleaming spires and hovering platforms, a lone figure moved through the shadows of the lower districts, his weathered cloak billowing behind him. Daniel Burton kept his hood pulled low, obscuring his dark hair and sharp features from the suspicious glances of passers-by. The aliens, tall, elegant beings with luminescent turquoise skin, gave him a wide berth, their whispers following him like persistent shadows. "Warlock," they hissed in their melodic language. "Criminal." Daniel had grown accustomed to their fear. 3 years ago, he'd been banished from Earth after a public demonstration of what the Galactic Council deemed dangerous arcane practices. In reality, he'd simply been ahead of his time, a biomedical engineer whose integration of ancient Earth minerals with modern tech had frightened those in power. "Another human abomination," a merchant muttered as Daniel passed his stall, "bringing their primitive magic to our world." Daniel ignored the comment, his hand instinctively touching the small pouch hidden beneath his cloak. Inside lay his most precious possession, a stone the color of midnight with veins of pulsing blue energy running through it. The Terran core, they called it on Earth. Here they called it witchcraft. His stomach growled, reminding him it had been 2 days since his last meal. The meager credits he'd earned fixing broken tech in the slums were nearly gone. Still, he pressed on toward the affluent district of Luminara, a risky move, but the wealthy often discarded perfectly functional devices that could fetch a decent price in the underground markets. As he approached the gleaming boundary between poverty and opulence, the crowd's density increased. Something was happening. Daniel slowed his pace, instinct warning him to stay inconspicuous. "Make way! Make way for Chairman Valen," a mechanical voice announced. The sea of turquoise bodies parted, revealing a procession of sleek hovercars. At the center was an elegant vehicle with crystalline windows that obscured its occupants. As it passed, Daniel caught a glimpse of a distinguished alien man in an immaculate brown three-piece suit, Chairman Valentheros, the billionaire industrialist whose name adorned half the buildings in the city. The procession halted abruptly. The lead vehicle had stopped at what appeared to be a small accident scene. Daniel's curiosity got the better of him, and he edged closer, keeping to the shadows. The door of the central hovercar opened, and Chairman Valen emerged, his face contorted with an emotion that transcended species barriers, pure anguish. Behind him, medical drones hovered frantically around another figure. "Lysa!" Valen's voice cracked with desperation. "Someone help my daughter!" Daniel peered through the crowd and saw her, a slender young woman with the same turquoise skin as her father, but with a delicate, almost ethereal quality. Her sleek, combed-back hair framed a face that would have been beautiful, if not twisted in pain. She lay crumpled on the ground, her lower body at an unnatural angle. "The spinal connector is severed," one of the medical drones announced in its clinical tone. "Permanent paralysis is inevitable without immediate molecular reconstruction." "Then do it!" Valen demanded, his composure cracking. "Sir, the procedure requires facilities that—" "I don't care what it costs! Call my personal medical team!" Daniel watched the scene unfold, feeling the weight of the stone against his chest. He knew what it could do, what he could do, but revealing himself meant risking everything. The aliens of Therion had made their feelings about human sorcery abundantly clear. Yet as he watched the young woman's eyes filled with fear and fading hope, something shifted inside him. Before he could reconsider, Daniel stepped forward, pushing back his hood. "I can help her," he said, his deep voice cutting through the chaos. All eyes turned to him. The security drones immediately trained their weapons on his chest. "A human?" Valen's voice dripped with suspicion. "What could you possibly offer that my technology cannot?" Daniel met the chairman's gaze steadily. "Something your technology doesn't understand yet." He gestured to the injured woman. "But every second we debate, her neural pathways are degrading further." Valen's eyes narrowed, calculating. "If you harm her—" "I won't," Daniel interrupted, "but I need space to work." After a tense moment, Valen nodded to his security team. They reluctantly created a perimeter around the injured woman, though their weapons remained trained on Daniel. Kneeling beside her, Daniel finally got a clear view of Lisa Theros. Despite her pain, there was a fierce intelligence in her amber eyes. She studied him with equal parts fear and curiosity. "This will feel strange," he warned her softly, "but I need you to trust me." "Why would I trust you, human?" she whispered, her voice strained. Daniel smiled slightly. "Because right now, I'm your only option." From beneath his cloak, he withdrew the stone and a small toolkit. The crowd gasped, and the security drones edged closer. "Stand back," Valen ordered, his voice taut with tension. "Let him work." With practiced precision, Daniel opened his toolkit, revealing a compact biomechanical exoskeleton, his own design, crafted from salvaged parts and enhanced with Earth technology. Carefully, he positioned the stone at its center. "This will integrate with your neural system," he explained to Lisa as he worked. "The stone acts as a power source and cellular regenerator." "What is it?" she asked, wincing as he began attaching the delicate connectors to her spine. "On Earth, we called it a healing stone. Your people call it witchcraft." He smiled grimly. "I call it advanced science. Your world isn't ready to understand." As the final connection was made, the stone pulsed with blue energy. The exoskeleton hummed to life, its components shifting and adjusting to Lisa's physiology. A soft glow enveloped her lower body and she gasped, not in pain but in astonishment. "I can feel my legs," she whispered, her eyes wide. Daniel stepped back, offering his hand. "Try to stand." With trembling fingers, Lisa grasped his hand. The crowd held its collective breath as she slowly rose to her feet, the exoskeleton moving seamlessly with her body. For a moment, she swayed, uncertain. Then her posture straightened and a look of wonder spread across her face. "Father," she exclaimed, "I can walk." Valen Theros stood frozen, his expression unreadable. Then, to everyone's surprise, he approached Daniel and extended his hand in a very human gesture. "It seems I owe you a debt, Mr. Burton." Daniel Burton. "Mr. Burton." Valen's voice carried the weight of authority. "Whatever reward you desire—" "I don't want your money," Daniel interrupted, "but I could use a place to stay and a proper lab to continue my work." Valen studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Done. You'll come to my estate." He turned to his security team. "Prepare the vehicle." As Daniel followed them to the hover car, he caught Lisa watching him, her amber eyes filled with questions. For the first time in years, he felt something other than the constant pressure of survival, a flicker of connection. Little did he know that this moment would change not only his fate, but the course of two civilizations. The Theros estate sprawled across an entire floating platform in Luminara's most exclusive sector. As the hovercar descended onto a private landing pad, Daniel gazed through the window at gardens filled with bioluminescent flora and elegant structures that seemed to defy gravity. "Impressed?" Lisa asked, watching his reaction with amusement. She sat across from him, the exoskeleton now hidden beneath her flowing garments, though the faint blue glow of the stone occasionally pulsed through the fabric. "It's different from Earth architecture," Daniel replied diplomatically, though in truth he found the alien aesthetic strangely beautiful. Chairman Valen, who had been silently observing their interaction, spoke up. "Mr. Burton, I've instructed my staff to prepare our guest laboratory for your use. It contains our most advanced equipment." "Thank you," Daniel nodded. "I'll need to monitor Lisa's neural integration with the exoskeleton. The first 48 hours are critical." "Of course," Valen agreed, though his expression remained guarded. "But I expect full transparency about this technology of yours." The hovercar settled onto the landing pad with a gentle hum. As they disembarked, Daniel felt the weight of numerous eyes upon him. Security personnel, household staff, all regarding the human with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. A tall, stern-faced alien in a formal uniform approached. "Chairman, the laboratory has been prepared as requested." "Thank you, Krell. Please escort Mr. Burton and ensure he has everything he requires." Valen turned to his daughter. "Lisa, you should rest." "Actually, Father," she interjected, "I should accompany Mr. Burton. The exoskeleton is connected to my neural pathways. I'm as much a part of this experiment as his equipment." Valen frowned but nodded reluctantly. "Very well. Krell will show you both to the laboratory." As they followed the stoic major domo through the estate's sweeping corridors, Daniel became acutely aware of Lisa's presence beside him. The faint, sweet scent that emanated from her turquoise skin reminded him of jasmine on Earth, yet with an alien undertone he couldn't quite place. "Your father doesn't trust me," Daniel observed quietly. Lisa's lips curved into a smile. "My father doesn't trust anyone, but he respects results, and what you did today—" She glanced down at her legs, which moved with perfect fluidity. No one on Therion could have done this. The laboratory, when they reached it, exceeded Daniel's wildest expectations. Holographic interfaces hovered above pristine workstations. Molecular assemblers stood ready to fabricate virtually any component. Equipment that would have been priceless on Earth was arranged with casual abundance. "Will this suffice?" Krell asked, his tone suggesting he expected the primitive human to be overwhelmed. Daniel maintained his composure, though his heart raced at the possibilities. "It will do." Once Krell departed, Lisa moved to a central examination platform. "So, Dr. Burton, you are a doctor, aren't you? What happens now?" "Just Daniel, please. And yes, I was a doctor before I became a warlock." He approached a console, fingers dancing across the unfamiliar interface with surprising dexterity. "Now I need to run diagnostics on the exoskeleton's integration with your nervous system." As Daniel worked, Lisa studied him with undisguised fascination. "You're not what I expected," she admitted. "Oh? And what did you expect from a dangerous human sorcerer?" he asked, a hint of humor in his voice. "Someone wilder, less methodical." She leaned closer, watching as he calibrated the equipment. "The stories we hear about humans, they say you're unpredictable, passionate, driven by primitive instincts." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "And now that you've met one—" "I'm reserving judgment," she replied with a playful glint in her amber eyes. The diagnostic scan initiated, bathing Lisa in a soft blue light. Daniel watched the data stream across the holographic display, but found his attention repeatedly drawn to her. The elegant curve of her neck, the way her turquoise skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, the intelligence that sparked in her gaze. She was unlike any being he had encountered. "Your physiology is fascinating," he commented, focusing back on the data. "The exoskeleton is integrating perfectly, but your cellular structure is already adapting to the stone's energy in ways I hadn't anticipated." "Is that dangerous?" she asked, a note of concern in her voice. "No, it's actually beneficial. Your body is harmonizing with the technology faster than human tissue would." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "You're healing yourself, with the stone as a catalyst." Lisa slid from the examination platform with graceful ease, approaching until she stood directly before him. Despite her slender frame, she carried herself with an innate confidence that commanded attention. "And what about you, Daniel Burton? What drives a man to risk everything for a stranger?" Her voice lowered. "Especially one not of his kind?" The question hung between them, charged with unspoken implications. Daniel was acutely aware of their proximity, of the subtle heat radiating from her skin. "Scientific curiosity," he answered, though they both recognized the half-truth. "Just curiosity?" She reached out, her slender fingers brushing against his forearm, a bold gesture in Therian society, where physical contact was reserved for intimates. Daniel felt a jolt at her touch, not unpleasant, but startling in its intensity. "Among humans," he said carefully, "such contact has significant implications." "Does it?" Lisa's lips curved in a smile that transcended species barriers. "How fascinating." On Therion, it merely indicates interest. Scientific interest, of course. Before Daniel could respond, the laboratory door slid open, revealing Chairman Valen. His eyes narrowed slightly at their proximity, but he made no comment. "The council representatives will arrive tomorrow," he announced. "They're quite interested in meeting the human who performed what they're calling a miraculous healing." Daniel stepped back from Lisa, his expression growing serious. "The Galactic Council? The same body that exiled me from Earth?" "The very same," Valen confirmed. "Their interest could be problematic or advantageous, depending on how we approach this situation." "Father," Lisa interjected, "Daniel's work could revolutionize our medical technology. Surely the council will see that." "Perhaps," Valen replied, his tone non-committal. In any case, Mr. Burton, I suggest you prepare a demonstration that emphasizes the scientific basis of your work. The less it appears to be human sorcery, the better. After Valen departed, a heavy silence fell over the laboratory. Daniel turned back to the console, but his mind was racing with implications. The council fears what they don't understand, Lisa said softly, but I don't. When he looked up, she was watching him with an expression that made his pulse quicken. Curiosity, yes, but something more primal beneath it. Something that suggested their collaboration was evolving beyond mere science. Then perhaps, Daniel replied, his voice low, we should help them understand. The night before the council's arrival, Daniel worked feverishly in the laboratory. Holographic projections of molecular structures hovered around him as he integrated Therian technology with his Earth-based designs. The exoskeleton's efficiency had already improved by 30%, and the healing stone's energy was being channeled with unprecedented precision. You haven't slept, Lisa's voice came from the doorway. Daniel looked up, momentarily disoriented. She stood silhouetted against the corridor light, her turquoise skin glowing softly in the dimness. She had changed into a flowing garment that accentuated her slender form while allowing freedom of movement, the exoskeleton now nearly invisible beneath the fabric. I need to make sure everything is perfect for tomorrow, he replied, running a hand through his disheveled dark hair. Lisa approached, her movements fluid and graceful. You're worried about the council? With good reason. Daniel gestured to a holographic display showing his exile documentation. These are the same people who labeled me a dangerous practitioner of primitive Earth mysticism and banished me from my home planet. She studied the document, her amber eyes narrowing. This authorization is strange. The signature belongs to Counselor Drex, but the classification code... She tapped the hologram, enlarging a section. This isn't standard council protocol. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? I studied interplanetary law at the Academy. This classification, ES7, isn't in the Galactic Charter. It's something else entirely. She looked at him with sudden intensity. Someone wanted you gone and they used the council to do it. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. Can you access the council's secure archives? Lisa's lips curved into a mischievous smile. Father's security clearance extends further than he advertises. Computer, access Galactic Council archive, authorization Theros Prime. The laboratory's main display flickered, then filled with a complex directory structure. Lisa's fingers danced across the interface, navigating through layers of security with practiced ease. There, she said finally. All ES classified directives from the past decade. Daniel scanned the list, his expression darkening. These are all human scientists, specialists in biomedicine, neural technology, energy manipulation, all exiled on similar charges to mine. And all authorized by the same 3 council members, Lisa noted, highlighting the signatures. Drex, Morven, and my father's chief competitor, Counselor Pax. They've been systematically removing humans who develop technologies that combine biological and energy principles, Daniel realized. But why? Lisa pulled up another file, a classified research proposal. Project Ascension, she read, a Therian initiative to develop neural enhancement technology. Look at the date. It began immediately after the first human exile. As they delved deeper, a disturbing pattern emerged. Each human innovation had been suppressed, only to reappear months later as a breakthrough Therian technology, always under the direction of corporations connected to the 3 counselors. They've been stealing human innovations, Daniel said, anger rising in his voice, using the council to eliminate the competition, then claiming the technologies as their own. It's worse than that, Lisa whispered, pointing to a classified medical report. The Therian versions are flawed. Without the proper understanding of the human approach, they're creating dangerous implementations. There have been deaths covered up as experimental failures. Daniel paced the laboratory, his mind racing. We need to expose this at tomorrow's meeting. Your father has influence. My father may already know, Lisa interrupted, her voice pained. Theros Industries has benefited from some of these innovations. The realization hung heavy between them. Daniel studied her face, searching for any sign of complicity, but saw only genuine distress. Do you think he's actively involved? He asked quietly. Lisa shook her head. I don't know, but I intend to find out. She stepped closer, her hand reaching out to touch his arm, that same electrifying contact that had sparked between them earlier. But this time, neither pulled away. "Daniel," she said softly, "what you've created, what we're creating together, it could change everything. Not just for me, but for countless others across the galaxy." Her fingers trailed up his arm, leaving a tingling sensation in their wake. The laboratory suddenly felt too warm, too small for the energy building between them. "In Therian culture," she continued, her voice dropping to an intimate whisper, "there's a concept called neural resonance, when two minds align in purpose and passion." Daniel found himself drawn closer, captivated by the subtle scent of her skin and the intensity in her amber eyes. "And in human culture," he replied, his voice rough with emotion, "we have a similar concept. We call it chemistry." Her lips curved into a smile. "Is that what this is between us? Chemistry?" "Something like that," he murmured. The space between them vanished as Lysa pressed herself against him, her lips finding his in a kiss that transcended species and worlds. The sensation was unlike anything Daniel had experienced. A current of energy seemed to flow between them, heightened by the stone's power still pulsing within her. When they finally separated, both breathless, Lisa's eyes shimmered with an inner light. "Your human customs are surprisingly compatible," she observed with a playful smile. Daniel laughed, the tension of discovery momentarily forgotten in the joy of connection. "That's one way of putting it." Her expression grew serious again. "Tomorrow will be dangerous. If the counselors realize what we've discovered, then we'll be ready," Daniel finished, his resolve strengthening. "We'll integrate our technologies so thoroughly they can't deny the potential. Show them that human innovation and Therian science together are greater than either alone." Lisa nodded, determination matching his own. "We have work to do then." They returned to the console, working side by side through the night, their hands occasionally brushing, exchanging glances charged with newfound intimacy. As dawn approached, they had created something revolutionary, a perfect fusion of human intuition and Therian precision. And in the process, they had forged a bond that neither had anticipated but both now cherished, a connection that would soon be tested by forces determined to keep them apart. The morning of the Council's visit arrived with Therian's 3 suns casting a prismatic glow across the Theros estate. Daniel stood before a mirror in his guest quarters, adjusting the formal attire Valen had provided, a tailored suit that blended Therian elegance with subtle Earth influences. The fabric shifted colors subtly with his movements, a technological marvel that would have fetched a fortune on his home planet. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Lisa, radiant in a flowing dress the color of Earth's oceans. The exoskeleton was now virtually invisible, integrated so perfectly with her physiology that only the occasional pulse of blue energy beneath her skin revealed its presence. "You look..." Daniel searched for the right word, finding himself momentarily speechless. "Different," she suggested with a playful smile. "Extraordinary," he corrected, his eyes lingering on the graceful curve of her neck, the memory of their kiss still fresh in his mind. Lisa approached, adjusting his collar with an intimacy that sent warmth cascading through him. "Father is meeting privately with Counselor Drex before the formal presentation. I thought we might use the opportunity to prepare our alternative demonstration." Her proximity was intoxicating. The jasmine-like scent of her skin mingled with something uniquely alien, a combination that Daniel found increasingly difficult to resist. "Last night," he began, his voice low, "what happened between us was long overdue," she finished, her amber eyes meeting his with unflinching directness. "On Therian, we don't waste time questioning mutual attraction, especially when neural resonance is involved." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Is that what we're calling it?" "Among other things." Her lips curved in a smile that promised much more. "But right now, we have a revolution to start." They made their way to the laboratory, moving through the estate's corridors with purpose. As they walked, Lysa briefed him on the council members expected to attend. "Councillor Pax controls the largest pharmaceutical conglomerate in 3 systems. He stands to lose billions if our integrated technology becomes public." Her voice hardened. "He's also rumored to have connections with fringe groups opposed to human expansion." "And Morvan?" Daniel asked. "Military background. Oversees security protocols for the entire sector. If anyone would view human innovation as a threat rather than an opportunity, it's him. They entered the laboratory to find it transformed. Valen's staff had arranged the space to accommodate the council delegation, with a central demonstration area surrounded by seating for the dignitaries. "We won't have much time," Lisa said, moving to a secured console. "Once the formal presentation begins, we'll need to be ready to override the system with our integrated data." Daniel nodded, retrieving a small device from his pocket, a data crystal containing their night's work. This will bypass their security protocols and broadcast directly to every connected system in the building. As they worked, a comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the occasional murmur of technical instructions. Their hands brushed frequently, each contact sending a current of awareness through Daniel that had nothing to do with the technology they were handling. "Last night," Lisa said suddenly, not looking up from her work, "you mentioned human chemistry. Is it always this intense?" Daniel smiled. "No, this is something special." She paused, her fingers hovering above the console. "On Therion, physical intimacy is considered a natural extension of intellectual connection. There's no distinction between the joining of minds and bodies. Earth cultures vary," Daniel replied, his voice roughening slightly, "but I've always believed that the most profound connections transcend the physical while embracing it." Lisa turned to face him fully, her expression both vulnerable and determined. "After this is over, if we succeed, would you show me more of these human customs?" The invitation in her voice was unmistakable. Daniel stepped closer, drawn by forces that seemed as fundamental as gravity. "I'd like that very much." Their moment was interrupted by the laboratory doors sliding open. Chairman Valen entered, followed by a delegation of council members. His eyes narrowed slightly at the proximity between his daughter and the human, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. "Mr. Burton," he announced formally, "may I present the Galactic Council representatives, Councillor Drex, Councillor Morven, and Councillor Pax." Daniel straightened, studying the three aliens who had orchestrated his exile. Drex was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and calculating eyes. Morven, by contrast, was broad-shouldered and imposing, his military bearing evident in his rigid posture. Pax, the most elaborately dressed of the three, regarded Daniel with thinly veiled contempt. "So," Pax began, his voice silky with disdain, "this is the human warlock who claims to have performed a medical miracle." "Not a miracle, Counselor," Daniel replied evenly. "Applied science, combining principles that your research has overlooked." Morven snorted. "Primitive Earth mysticism dressed up as technology. We've seen it before." "Have you," Lisa interjected, stepping forward, "or have you merely suppressed it?" Valen shot his daughter a warning glance. "Lisa, perhaps we should proceed with the demonstration." "An excellent suggestion," Drex agreed smoothly. "I'm particularly interested in examining this stone that powers the device." Daniel felt a chill at the counselor's tone. Their plan to gradually introduce their integrated technology would need to be accelerated. With a subtle nod to Lisa, he moved toward the central platform. "Gentlemen, what you're about to witness isn't magic or mysticism," he began, activating the holographic display. "It's the future of medical technology, human innovation enhanced by Therion precision." As the presentation began, Lisa discreetly connected their data crystal to the main system. On the surface, Daniel demonstrated the exoskeleton's basic functions, explaining the principles in scientific terms the council couldn't dismiss. But beneath this conventional presentation, their true work was uploading to every connected device in the building and beyond. The revolution had begun, not with confrontation, but with information, the most powerful force in the galaxy. Midway through Daniel's presentation, a subtle chime sounded from Counselor Pax's communication device. The alien's expression shifted from contempt to alarm as he checked the incoming message. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, rising to his feet. "This data is being broadcast across the entire city." Counselor Morven's device chimed next, followed by Drex's. The three council members exchanged panicked glances as they realized what was happening. "Terminate this immediately," Morven barked, turning to Chairman Valen. Valen's face remained impassive, but his eyes flickered briefly to his daughter. "What exactly is being transmitted?" "Everything," Lisa answered, stepping forward with newfound confidence. "The complete integration of human healing technology with Therion medical science. And, she added pointedly, evidence of how the Council has systematically suppressed human innovation while stealing it for themselves. The laboratory doors slid open as Krell entered, his normally stoic demeanor visibly shaken. Chairman, there are news drones gathering outside the estate. The public broadcast has gone viral across all networks. Daniel watched Valen carefully, uncertain where the chairman's loyalties would fall in this critical moment. The billionaire's expression remained unreadable as he turned to face the council members. Is this true? He asked them quietly. Have you been suppressing technologies that could have benefited our people? Don't be naive, Valen, Drek snapped. Humans are dangerous. Their innovations lack the refinement and safety protocols of proper Therian science. Safety protocols? Daniel interjected. Like the neural implants your company released last year that caused seizures in 20% of recipients? The ones based on Dr. Elena Kapoor's research? Another exiled human scientist? Pax stepped forward menacingly. You've overstepped, human. This broadcast will be contained, and you'll face consequences far worse than exile. Before anyone could respond, the laboratory's main screen activated automatically, displaying a live feed from the city center. Crowds were gathering, their attention fixed on public screens, showing detailed schematics of the integrated technology. Medical professionals could be seen studying the data with expressions of wonder and excitement. It's too late, Lisa said. The information is out there. People are already recognizing its potential. Valen moved to the console, reviewing the transmitted data with an expert's eye. After a long moment, he straightened and faced the room. Gentlemen, he addressed the counselors, it appears we have a choice to make. We can either embrace this new direction or be remembered as those who tried to stop it. You're siding with them? Morven asked incredulously. I'm siding with progress, Valen replied. His gaze shifted to Daniel and Lysa, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. Though I would have appreciated being informed of this plan beforehand. Lysa stepped closer to her father. Would you have approved it? No, he admitted, but not for the reasons you might think. With a gesture, Valen activated a secured section of the laboratory's database. Files appeared on the screen, research documents, communications, and surveillance footage. For the past year, I've been gathering evidence against certain council members, he explained. Their suppression of human technology wasn't just about control or profit. There's something larger at stake. The screen displayed images of a massive construction project hidden on Therian's uninhabited moon. Daniel recognized components similar to the Healing Stone, but weaponized on an unimaginable scale. They've been adapting human energy technology for military applications, Valen continued, creating weapons that could destabilize the entire sector. I was planning to present this evidence at the next full council session. And now? Daniel asked. Now we've forced their hand, Valen replied grimly. Your public broadcast has exposed part of their operation, but also alerted them to potential leaks. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the estate. Krell rushed back into the laboratory. Chairman, security has detected unauthorized craft approaching, military grade. Morven's Enforcement Division, Valen muttered. He turned to the counselors who were already backing toward the exit. This isn't over. On the contrary, Pax replied with a cold smile. It very much is. The three counselors hurried from the room, leaving Daniel, Lisa, and Valen facing an imminent threat. We need to leave, Valen decided, activating an emergency protocol on his personal device. My private shuttle can get us off-world before they lock down the sector. Off-world? Lisa questioned. Father, we can't just abandon everything. We're not abandoning anything, he assured her. The revolution you've started will continue. But we need to ensure you both survive to guide it. He looked at Daniel with newfound respect. Your human ingenuity has accomplished in one day what my careful planning couldn't achieve in a year. As they hurried through the estate toward the private landing pad, Daniel found himself running alongside Lisa, their hands instinctively finding each other. I didn't expect your father to be an ally, he admitted quietly. Neither did I, she replied, squeezing his hand. Though I should have known. He's always been more progressive than he appears. He just plays the long game. They reached the shuttle bay just as the estate's external defenses engaged, responding to approaching hostile craft. The sleek vessel before them hummed with ready power. Get on board, Valen instructed, pausing to input final security overrides. I'll be right behind you. Inside the shuttle, Daniel and Lysa found themselves momentarily alone in the passenger compartment. The craft's engines were warming up, their vibration a subtle reminder of the urgency of their situation. Yet in this stolen moment, the immediate danger seemed to recede. "So," Daniel said, a hint of wry humor in his voice, "this wasn't exactly how I planned to continue our discussion about human customs." Lysa laughed, the sound bright with adrenaline and something deeper. "Are all human courtships this eventful?" "Only the memorable ones." He reached out, tracing the curve of her cheek with gentle fingers. The blue glow of the healing stone pulsed beneath her skin in response to his touch, as if recognizing him. "When this is over," she whispered, leaning into his caress, "I want to explore everything about you. Your world, your customs, your—" Her eyes met his with unmistakable intent. "Chemistry." The shuttle lurched as Valen boarded and took the controls. Through the viewport, they could see enforcement vessels approaching the estate, their weapon systems active. "Hold tight," Valen called back to them. "This departure won't be subtle." As the shuttle rocketed away from the estate, Daniel held Lysa close, their bodies fitting together as if designed for each other. The danger was far from over, but in that moment, he felt something he hadn't experienced since his exile. Hope, and something else entirely new. Love. The shuttle streaked through Therian's upper atmosphere, enforcement vessels in hot pursuit. In the cockpit, Valen piloted with the skill of someone who hadn't always been a corporate chairman, his fingers dancing across the controls as he executed evasive maneuvers. "They're not expecting us to head toward the moon," he called back to Daniel and Lysa. "That gives us a small advantage." Daniel studied the tactical display, noting the pursuing vessel's formation. "They're trying to herd us toward the main shipping lanes. Standard containment protocol." Valen shot him an appraising look. "You know military tactics?" "I wasn't always a medical researcher," Daniel replied with a hint of a smile. "Earth's Unified Defense Force taught me a few things before I focused on healing rather than hurting." The chairman nodded appreciatively. "Then you understand what we're up against. The moon base is heavily fortified, a black site not officially acknowledged in any council records." "How do you plan to get us inside?" Lysa asked, leaning forward between the seats. "With this?" Valen held up a small data chip. "Security override codes. Morven may be paranoid, but he's also predictable. He uses the same encryption architecture across all his operations." The shuttle banked sharply, diving beneath a commercial transport to break the pursuer's tracking. Therian's inhabited moon, Lenos, grew larger in the view screen, its cratered surface marred by small, legitimate mining operations that served as perfect cover for the Councilor's secret facility. "There," Valen indicated a seemingly abandoned mining complex on the dark side of the moon. "The entrance is disguised as a decommissioned shaft." As they approached, Daniel felt Lysa's hand slip into his. Her touch sent a current of warmth through him that had nothing to do with the healing stone's energy. "Are you afraid?" he asked softly. "Terrified," she admitted, her amber eyes meeting his. "But not of them. I'm afraid of what happens after, when this is over and everything changes." Daniel understood her meaning. In the span of days, her world had been upended. Her physical healing, their unexpected connection, and now the revelation of corruption at the highest levels of her society. "Whatever comes next," he promised, "we face it together." The shuttle slowed as it approached the abandoned mining complex. Valen activated a cloaking system, rendering them temporarily invisible to standard sensors. "This will buy us minutes, not hours," he warned. "Once we're inside, we'll need to move quickly. The evidence we need is in the central development chamber, schematics, test results, and prototype weapons." "And if we encounter resistance?" Daniel asked. Valen opened a compartment beneath the control panel, revealing 3 compact energy weapons. "I prefer diplomacy, but I'm not naive." As the shuttle settled into a concealed docking bay, Valen distributed the weapons. Daniel weighed the unfamiliar device in his hand, hoping he wouldn't need to use it. "The facility is minimally staffed," Valen explained as they prepared to disembark. "Mostly automated systems and a small security detail. Our biggest concern is triggering automated defenses." They exited the shuttle into the cold, sterile environment of the abandoned mining facility. Valen led them to a maintenance shaft that, according to his intelligence, connected to the secret base below. Once we're inside, he continued, we'll split up. I'll access the main security hub to disable alarms. You two head for the development chamber to gather the evidence. Is that wise? Lisa questioned. Separating? It's necessary, her father replied, and more efficient. You both know what we're looking for, and Daniel's expertise will help identify the most damning evidence. As they reached the hidden entrance, Valen inserted his override chip. After a tense moment, the sealed door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Good luck, he said, clasping Daniel's shoulder briefly before disappearing down a separate corridor. Alone with Lisa in the dimly lit passageway, Daniel felt a shift in the air between them, a momentary pause in the urgency of their mission. This might be our last quiet moment for a while, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel nodded, acutely aware of her proximity in the narrow space. Lisa, if something happens... She silenced him with a finger to his lips. Don't. On Therion, we have a saying. Speak of victory before battle, and defeat will surely find you. On Earth, we just say, jinx it, he replied with a smile. Much more efficient, she agreed, returning his smile. Then with a boldness that took his breath away, she pressed herself against him, her lips finding his in a kiss that conveyed everything words could not. The sensation was electric, more intense than their first kiss in the laboratory. The healing stone in her chest pulsed with blue light, its energy seeming to flow between them, creating a connection that transcended the physical. When they finally separated, both breathless, Lisa's eyes shimmered with an inner fire. That, she murmured, was for luck. A human custom, I believe? One of our better ones, Daniel agreed, his voice rough with emotion. With renewed determination, they made their way deeper into the facility, following Valen's directions through a labyrinth of corridors. The development chamber, according to the schematics, was 3 levels below their current position. As they descended, the sterile mining facility gave way to a high-tech research complex. Through observation windows, they glimpsed laboratories where Therion scientists worked on equipment that incorporated unmistakable elements of human design. They've been busy, Daniel observed grimly. These look like weaponized versions of healing technology designed to destroy tissue rather than repair it. How could they pervert something so beneficial? Lisa wondered, her expression troubled. It's an old human story, Daniel replied. The same knowledge that heals can harm, depending on who wields it. They reached the central development chamber without encountering security, a stroke of luck that suggested Valen had successfully accessed the security systems. The massive room was filled with prototype weapons and testing equipment, all powered by variants of the healing stone's energy. We need to document everything, Daniel said, activating his data recorder. Specifications, test results, communications, anything that proves the counselors knew these were based on stolen human technology. As they worked quickly to gather evidence, Lisa accessed a central console. Daniel, look at this, she called, her voice tight with concern. The screen displayed deployment plans. The weapons weren't just prototypes, they were scheduled for distribution to Therion military vessels within days. They're preparing for war, Daniel realized, but against whom? The answer appeared on the next screen. Earth. They fear human potential, Lisa whispered. These weapons were designed specifically to target human physiology. Before Daniel could respond, a security alert blared through the facility. On a secondary monitor, they saw Valen being surrounded by armed guards, Counselor Morven directing them with cold efficiency. We need to help him. Lisa started toward the door, but Daniel caught her arm. Wait, he said, an idea forming. I think I know how we can stop this and save your father. He turned to the central power distribution node, the heart of the weapons development system. These prototypes all draw power from the same source technology as my healing stone. If I can reverse the polarity, understanding dawned in Lisa's eyes. You could neutralize every weapon in the facility and broadcast the signature to disable any others already distributed, Daniel confirmed, already working to access the system. As alarms continued to blare, they worked together with desperate speed, Daniel applying his knowledge of the healing stone's properties, Lisa translating it into commands the Therion system would accept. In the distance, they could hear security forces approaching. Time was running out. Almost there, Daniel muttered, making a final adjustment. Ready? Lisa nodded, her hand finding his once more. Together. They activated the modified protocol, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of blue energy pulsed outward from the central node, washing over the entire facility. Throughout the complex, weapon systems powered down, their deadly potential neutralized. It worked, Lisa breathed, the blue light reflecting in her amber eyes. Daniel squeezed her hand. Now let's go save your father. As they turned toward the exit, both knew that the real confrontation and the future they hoped to build together awaited them beyond those doors. Daniel and Lisa raced through the corridors of the moon base, following the sounds of confrontation. The blue energy wave continued to pulse outward, growing stronger rather than dissipating as it spread through the facility's systems. Something's happening, Daniel observed, noting how the wave's frequency was changing. The energy signature is amplifying itself. Is that dangerous? Lisa asked as they rounded a corner. I don't think so. It's more like… Daniel paused, watching as the blue light interacted with the facility's technology. It's transforming, reverting to its original healing properties. They reached the security hub where Valen was being held. Through the reinforced viewport, they could see the chairman surrounded by guards, with Counselor Morven looming over him. But something unexpected was occurring. The guards were lowering their weapons, looks of confusion spreading across their faces. Their weapon systems are integrated with their armor, Lisa realized. The neutralizing wave is affecting them too. Taking advantage of the confusion, Daniel and Lisa burst into the room. The guards, their systems malfunctioning, offered no resistance. What have you done? Morven demanded, his face contorted with rage. Restored balance, Daniel answered simply. Your weapons are neutralized, Counselor. Valen, seeing his opportunity, broke free from his captors. And your conspiracy is exposed. The evidence has already been transmitted to the full council and major news networks throughout the sector. Morven's composure cracked entirely. You fool! Those weapons were our only defense against human expansion. Their primitive brutality will overwhelm us all. Brutality? Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. I came to your world with nothing but healing knowledge, and you labeled me a warlock. Every human scientist you exiled was working to improve lives, not destroy them. A sudden tremor shook the facility. On the security monitors, they could see the blue energy wave had reached the base's power core, creating an unexpected reaction. We need to evacuate, Valen warned. Now! As they rushed toward the docking bay, alarms blaring around them, Morven was taken into custody by his own confused security team. The other conspirators, Drex and Pax, had apparently fled when the neutralizing wave first hit. They reached Valen's shuttle just as another, stronger tremor rocked the base. As they lifted off, the view screen showed the facility behind them, not exploding as they feared, but transforming. The blue energy had coalesced around the power core, creating a pulsing beacon that shot a column of light toward Therion. What's happening? Valen asked, his hand steady on the controls despite his obvious concern. Daniel studied the readings on the shuttle's sensors. The healing energy is propagating through their network. It's reverting all the weaponized technology back to its original purpose. As they approached Therion, the scale of the transformation became clear. The energy wave had spread throughout the planet's connected systems, enhancing medical facilities, public transportation, even personal devices. Reports flooded in from across the megacity. Chronic ailments suddenly alleviated, old injuries healing, adaptive technology functioning at unprecedented levels. You've created a miracle, Lisa whispered, watching the scenes unfold on the communication channels. Not me, Daniel corrected her. Us, human innovation and Therion implementation, working in harmony. The shuttle landed at the Theros estate, now surrounded by news drones and curious citizens. Word had spread quickly. The warlock had not only exposed a dangerous conspiracy, but had inadvertently triggered a planet-wide healing phenomenon. In the days that followed, the full extent of the Counselor's plot was revealed. Drex and Pax were apprehended attempting to flee the system. The Galactic Council, embarrassed by the corruption in their ranks, moved swiftly to make amends, beginning with the formal revocation of all human exile orders. 1 month after what the Therion media dubbed the Healing Wave, Daniel stood on the balcony of what was now his permanent residence in the Theros estate. The city below sparkled in the light of the setting suns, its inhabitants no longer regarding humans with fear and suspicion, but with newfound respect and curiosity. Enjoying the view? Lisa's voice came from behind him. He turned to find her silhouetted in the doorway, her turquoise skin glowing with health and vitality. The exoskeleton had fully integrated with her body, becoming an enhancement rather than a necessity. The healing stone remained, its energy now a permanent part of her. "It's improved considerably in recent weeks," he replied with a smile, opening his arms to her. She moved into his embrace with fluid grace, her body fitting perfectly against his. "Father's received the final approval for the Human Therian Cooperative Research Institute. They're offering you the directorship." "And you?" Daniel asked, his fingers tracing the delicate curve of her spine. "Deputy Director of Xenobiological Integration," she replied with a playful smile, "though I'm more interested in a different kind of integration at the moment." Her amber eyes held his, filled with promise and desire. In the months since their return, they had explored the boundaries of their connection, discovering with delight that their physiologies were remarkably compatible, if occasionally amusingly different. "Your skin glows brighter when you're aroused," Daniel observed, his voice dropping to an intimate murmur. "Did you know that? And your heart rate increases by exactly 23%, she countered, pressing her palm against his chest. "I've been taking measurements." "Always the scientist," he laughed, drawing her closer. "Not always," she whispered against his lips. "Sometimes I'm just a woman who loves a man who once healed her body and now has claimed her heart." Their kiss deepened, the familiar electric current flowing between them. The healing stone in Lysa's chest pulsed in rhythm with their shared passion, its blue light enveloping them both. Later, as they lay entwined in the soft glow of Therian's twin moons, Lisa traced lazy patterns on Daniel's chest. "Do you ever regret it, using your stone to heal me that day?" "Not for a moment," he answered truthfully, though I couldn't have imagined where it would lead. "From homeless warlock to celebrated savior," she mused, "and from paralyzed daughter to—" She hesitated, a rare uncertainty in her voice. Daniel propped himself up on one elbow, studying her face. "To what?" In answer, she took his hand and placed it over the healing stone embedded in her chest. Beneath his palm, he felt not one, but two distinct pulses of energy. "The stone has always been attuned to life force," she explained softly. "It's detected a new presence, small but growing." Understanding dawned slowly, then all at once. "You mean—" "Yes," she confirmed, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Apparently our compatibility extends further than we thought. The first human Therian child will arrive in about 8 months." Joy unlike anything Daniel had ever known flooded through him. He gathered Lisa in his arms, overwhelmed by the miracle of their union. "Your father is going to have quite the reaction," he managed finally, imagining the distinguished chairman's face. "He already knows," Lisa admitted with a laugh. "Therian physiology is more transparent than human. He noticed the changes before I did. He's already planning the nursery." Daniel shook his head in wonder. From exile to family in less than 2 months. If someone had told me this would be my life when I was wandering the streets of Therian. "The universe works in mysterious ways," Lysa finished for him, curling against his side. "Or perhaps it's simply that humanity's greatest gift isn't technology or innovation, but love, the ability to see beyond differences and create something new and beautiful." As the moons continued their journey across the night sky, Daniel held the woman he loved, contemplating the future they would build together, a future where human and Therian would learn from each other, grow together, and discover that the most powerful healing of all came not from stones or technology, but from the heart.